Welcome to the Big Kickoff League of Ireland podcast with myself, Roy Shanahan, and of course Nathan Doyle from thebigkickoff.com. Nathan, welcome back. A brand new season starting off, and a very interesting one too, because we have the two divisions, but we're less a team in the first division.
Yeah, it's good to be back, first of all, Roy. It really is. Nice to have the football back. Nice to have a good selves back, talking shite throughout the year. I'm sure we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of every team as the season progresses and as the year goes on. But yeah, look, every year the first division's a tasty one, but to see how the old Cavan Teely, Bray Wanderers, Bray Teely, whatever the fuck we're calling these days, how that's going to get on. Strange one. I suppose this probably seems nicer to the old FEI 4-year plan, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That we're talking about in terms of integrating. I know a number of things came out we're going to get into with the 4-year strategy, but probably the main sticking point for us being the introduction or the possible introduction of a third tier to the League of Ireland. What do you reckon about that, mate?
Yeah. Well, listen, the third tier is something that I think is going to be fantastic. I think they're talking about a pyramid scheme that would see promotion and relegation through the third division, and it could see the likes of, let's say, Cork City getting relegated out of the league altogether, and this is what they're looking for in the future, which is great because that's what you want to see. You want to see teams. The only thing is that we can't fill two divisions at the moment. How are they going to fill a third one? What criteria are going to be there? Is it going to be full of B teams, which is a strong possibility for starting out, and then they sort of bring in Leinster Senior, Munster Senior, so on, so forth. So it's going to be interesting to see what way they structure it next year, because they're starting next year, 2023. So it's really going to be interesting to see what way they structure it there. What's your thoughts initially?
Jeez, even he said 2023, when I first seen it on a piece of paper, I was like, gosh, that's a couple of years away, but Jesus, life is fleeting. Christ, that's scary. Like you said, going to be filled up with a lot of B teams, universities, colleges, also things like that. Like I said, we could see the introduction of Leinster Munster Senior. I actually got it wrong. I thought it was one of your old Flames, Roy, Kilkenny City, were making a bit of a tease online, but it was actually Kildare County were teasing their comeback to the League of Ireland on their social media platforms. So I was going to stitch up with it a little bit there and thought about a possible comeback to Kilkenny, but look, I think there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered in terms of a third tier. I'd like to see the whole the pyramid and the structure of Irish football in general get a much needed improvement in terms of a natural pathway from amateur football leading right up to the League of Ireland, and that includes even young grassroots football behind that. I think the way forward for me, and I know it's something that's being talked about heavily, is regionalising it, making it into, a north-south or teams from the west playing teams from the west, where it cut down things like travel costs. Just a quick example for sides that you don't want to have a side, to say, perfect example from Sligo travelling to Waterford or Dublin on a weekly basis. So I think to keep it feasible and to keep the cost down, they're going to have to do a natural regional system.
Yeah, okay. We'll have a look at this, I suppose, strategy plan now, and let's have a look and see what they're actually talking about here, because it is interesting to see what they're talking about. So they're talking about further develop the existing League of Ireland academy structure to offer the most promising young players increased levels of support on their football and education journeys, working closely and collaboratively with clubs in their catchment area. It's easy for them to say. Okay.
You got it.
Collaborate proactively with fans and clubs to recognise and sustain the vibrant supporter culture within the League of Ireland. Nathan, that's going to be a huge one, because I'm not sure that was happening in the first place, was it?
Yeah, that's one that's a lot of people been crying out for, hasn't it been? I think it's safe to say a lot of fans' relationship with the FEI and the trust within the FEI, it's non-existent, and it's been factored for a long time. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be something. I know it's a little bit off topic, actually, but why we're touching on it with the FEI and the fan base, and we're going to talk about Shamrock Rovers a little bit later. But the decision, do you see that? The decision for Shamrock Rovers fans now to be allowed entry into the opening game against UCD, well, it was looking like that wasn't going to be a possibility at all due to the firework incident that we seen late last season in the RSC.
Yeah.
Shamrock Rovers played away to Waterford.
You're really going off road here, Nathan. You're just fecked our
Yeah,
structure
yeah,
up altogether.
yeah. Come here.
Yeah, no, listen, do you know what? Maybe it was too much. Maybe it was too much. Maybe the fine is enough. And, you know, if it happens again, second time round, you're going to get the ban. I'm not sure if ban was needed the first time around. It wasn't in their stadium. Normally that sort of thing is when it's in their own stadium, so it wasn't in their stadium. So yeah, I think sense prevailed on this one.
Yeah.
I do think that if there's a repeat of it, then yeah, definitely kind of hammer them there. So yep, I'd agree with that one. I think it was 5,000 the fine.
5,000. Yeah. Sorry about that, right? We'll skedaddle back to where we were.
We'll continue on.
I'll keep any other comments to myself for later in the show.
Encourage and enable League of Ireland clubs to play a more attractive role in the community. This is a big one, Nathan, because they need to get people on their side, the league, the clubs. So the likes of Sligo's grand, because they're down there. But I'd look at the likes of St. Pat's Athletic and around the area that they are. They really just survive off Inchicore, and they really need to go and open up their horizons there, and you know, obviously do work around Inchicore, but surrounding areas, you know, develop. It says, you know, promoting cooperation with wider community stakeholders and fans, driving public and private investment in club-led social programs for the good of clubs and their communities. So if they're seen to do good around the community, then you're going to get that back in support for your club. That's natural, isn't it?
1,000,000%. And I was on here last year. I said it on camera, off camera to you. I was blue in the face, especially when you mentioned Pats. Like the catchment area that's there available to Pats, it's ridiculous. And for a long, long time, it was completely just untapped. Like I said, Inchicore, that's the main one. But I know I'm going to rattle out a few places now that we like listen to Chinese for people that don't know the area. But like at Ballyfermot, Clondalkin, Palmerstown, James Street, further into town, the Liberties. These are all areas that, you know, Pats could have a strong hold in, and could even go to places like Chap Lizard, which St. Pat's has a history of playing in Chap Lizard early in that history. So these are things that just wasn't being tapped into. Now, it has changed in a number of years with the clubs. The club brought in a community development officer in Dave Morrissey. Unfortunately, Dave has actually left the position, which is going to be a massive loss for Pats. So that's something that's going to need to be replaced. Even away from your own club, look, you could look at everything that happened with Dundalk in the past couple of years and how that seems to be changed for the better since the new owners coming in, and they're just trying to get that them links and them connections that have been factored so much with local businesses, with the local people, with Dundalk as a town as a whole. Because again, we said it loads of times at the back end of last season. These clubs need to be like a community hub. They need to be a place that everyone can flock to and everyone can enjoy coming to once. It's something that the league for the longest time just it's a resource that hasn't been used. And yet, like I said, it's improving with a lot of clubs. But I think we're looking 10, 15 years too late here. You should be really having almost like a GAA parish mentality when you come to these community clubs.
100%. Yeah, but it's better late than never, Nathan. So we'll go with that. Here's a few things that they've said. What we need to do. Work with our clubs to develop additional tiers in the men's and women's league. So they're going for a third tier in the men's and hopefully a second tier in the women's national league. That won't be till 2025 for the women, but they're saying 2023 for the men. We've kind of discussed that. We'll come back to that one. Produce the League of Ireland infrastructure plan. Now, this is interesting because this will encompass the stadium, training grounds, academies, and anything that needs analysis, agreed and costed to secure necessary investment. Talk to me about that, Nathan, because when I seen this, I thought, right, that's great, but and with a lot of stuff in this strategic plan, it seems more like a wish list, and we're not really seeing what they're going to do to sort of get to where they want to get to. We've all said we want these things, but it's a different thing wanting something and another thing actually working your arse off and having a plan to do it. And they haven't come with any plan. They've just sort of wished it.
Yeah. It's pretty much what we do week in, week out, isn't it? We just come on and say what we like you said. I literally have in my notes, wish list, is any this realistic? Because it's all nice and it's all good things to have, and we're going to go into some of the other things on the 4-year strategy plan, but it all falls down to funding and all falls down to finances, you know, whether that be local government, whether that be national government. Did you go to the likes of UEFA looking for funding? So Yeah, I'm not too sure. And like I said, we're going to get into a little bit further into this list, but trying to point out things that are realistic. I'm not sure. Yeah, I can't see a lot of realistic goals as we're going through the list here.
Okay, right. Let's
Am I
have a
being
look
pessimistic? Am I being pessimistic on that one?
No, I think what we want is we don't want to have lists of things that
Yeah,
people, buzzwords that people
yeah,
want to hear, and then you never really sort of get to the promised land. So is it something just to are they focusing on this? Have they got a plan? We need to know this. The league need to know it. The clubs need to know it. The fans need to know it. They need to know how they feel that they're going to get there, because the clubs, the fans are the people who are going to help them get there. So they need to, they threw this out, really should have thrown out how they're going to get there and how everyone plays their role. And that hasn't been done. Support League of Ireland clubs to be competitive in all UEFA competitions. The top 30 UEFA league coefficient position for the League of Ireland by the end of 2025. Now, Nathan, the reason why I start with now, Nathan, is because Stephen Bradley was on talking about this, and he said, listen, it's great that they have these plans. Fantastic. I think, yes, everything that's there we should aspire to. But exactly what we've said, the clubs and the fans now should be within this, and they need to tell us how this is done. To reach the top 30, he said, is nearly going to be impossible within the next 3 years unless all the teams do miraculous runs like Dundalk did a couple of years ago, where they got into the group stages and etc. So this is the worrying point. It looks like they've just plucked this out of the air. I don't know what they base this on.
Am I right in saying that our current standings in these rankings are 40?
40. So they jump 10 leagues.
10 leagues in the space of a couple of years. And now what perfect that you mentioned Stephen Bradley, because that's obviously going to be a goal for them this year, is making a sustained run in Europe. They've dominated the league over the past couple of years domestically. That has to be the next goal, but that's not going to be enough. You know, we're going to need the likes of St. Pat's, Derry City, Sligo Rovers this year and beyond, not only this year and beyond, to do that. And that's going to come down, unfortunately, to a lot of luck. It's going to come down to things like the luck of a draw and things of that nature. And to make such a significant jump in that short amount of time, again, am I pessimistic fan? I was a pessimistic fan. Jesus, I'm going to get censored on that first show back. But yeah, I don't want to be, again, pessimistic fan here. I can't see it. I really can't see it. And again, it's hard to even have a conversation with it between me and you, because like you said, these are just statements that are being thrown out with no factional reason behind it, without reason of why they've thrown these statements out, and no sensible way of going about it.
Yeah, the strategy. This is more of the wish list. The strategy will give you the details behind the plan, and there's no real details there. So wish list seems to be what myself, yourself, and many others believe that this is. Albeit, we hope they achieve everything that they talk about there. Create a new brand identity for the League of Ireland by 2023. So they're giving themselves the year to create this brand. Again, that suggests to me that they're only starting to work on this. With men's, women's and underage League of Ireland football represented under one umbrella. Okay, fine. Happy with that. See what they come out with. Increase attendances at domestic league and cup matches. Now, Aviva Stadium, this is how they're going to get it. Aviva Stadium sold out by 2025. So this is how they're going to increase it, by selling out the men's final. There's nothing there to say how they're going to do that. Tallaght Stadium sold out for women's FAI Cup final. So again, throwing something up there, kind of saying, yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a full stadium, but not giving us anything on how they're going to do it. Yeah. So it's wishy-washy to me, I have to say. And again, I hope they reach it, but far away.
This is the point where now they should be releasing their marketing strategies to sell out these finals. And look, we were very successful with the last final in the Aviva Stadiums, over 40,000 or so at the game. I'm being one of them. I had a lovely day, right? But again, you know, maybe it's more realistic goal to be beating these targets. You know, say, we got 40,000 last year. Now let's go, even it's only 41, 42,000 next year, and keep trying to up and up and up. But again, there needs to be a release of a marketing strategy, and needs to be a sustainable backing by the FAI to promote it and to entice people down. Because look, these FAI Cup finals, both of the men's and the women's side, more so the men's are going to see it with the numbers. Fans will go. Your core League of Ireland fans, as neutrals, even away from the two fans involved in the game, will go to the game. But you need to entice more. You need to entice more to be coming down to these finals on a regular basis. And to do that, it needs to be marketed right. Like the league as a whole, not only these cup finals.
But it shows me, Nathan, that they're only focused on, again, the Ireland team, where they're talking about selling out the stadium there, making sure that the premium tickets are sold and food and all that sort of stuff. So looking to maximise the money they get out of a game day. And it seems here that they focused on increasing attendances, but they've only focused on the two cup finals. And they're not saying, they're not saying how, Bray Cabinteely are going to increase their attendances by 50%. And they're not saying how, Sligo Rovers can get an extra 10% out. It's, again, there's little or nothing there, and I really hope they come out soon and let us know what their plans are. So let's just move on quickly, because we don't want to stay on this too long. Finish it off there. Support the development of League of Ireland clubs and academies. Basically have full-time staff. Full-time staff targets to be agreed as part of an ongoing development. Academy certification system introduced within League of Ireland by 2023. Well, yeah, you can get that done. The full-time thing, again, I suppose full-time comes around, but you get attendances up, you get people interested. So that all comes hand in hand. So I'm interested to see why they've made that a separate thing. Yes, it's great if they do get everyone full-time, but again, it doesn't even give you a timeline on that. And then collaborate with League of Ireland clubs to continue to develop football social responsibility strategies. All clubs will have this in place by 2023. Programs and initiatives rolled out by 2024. Okay, so what's your thoughts overall on the plan? Not even just the League of Ireland, but the whole thing, Nathan. What's your thoughts on the plan?
It's hard to be optimistic with it. Again, we're going off scraps of what you're saying there. We really are. I think there needs to be a substantial, I know we said it a few times, there does need to be substantial reasoning behind these decisions to be made. And we need to be told why these goals and these timelines should be seen as realistic, and why we should be pushing against it. Like you said, what can we do? What can the average fan do? What can clubs and people involved the clubs do? Hard to be positive, because I think as well, as a League of Ireland fan, with these sort of strategies and plans with the League of Ireland from the FAI, we've seen them in the past, haven't we? I think that's the reason why you're seeing a lot of League of Ireland fans not be positive and not be optimistic, because on paper, these are all things that we're crying out for. These are all things, for the most part, that the league and the Irish football as a whole badly needs. But we also need to know how is it going to get done, and why are these targets being sought out.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one, because there's been so many false promises we've seen over the years with League of Ireland, and they're saying 3 years down the line, this, that and the other will be done. Is it just to keep people away for 3 years? Well, we'll be seeing, again, as we said, not really being negative, but we kind of are. We just want to, we want it all to be true, but we're not really too sure now on past dealings. Okay, as you can see, Euro 2028, the FAI have decided to jump into bed with England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. Nathan, in your eyes, is this a good thing, a positive thing, or again, is this something that's wishy-washy and to be seen to be doing things where, do they have a chance really?
If you're tuning in for positivity, stick around. It will come. It'll come in a minute. It will come in a minute. Days again, we talked about it, didn't we, when it came to Euro 2020 with some of the games in Ireland. We're just not set up for these sort of things. We really aren't. And look, first of all, most importantly, is the stadiums. When it comes to this conversation, we have only one stadium to offer, and that's the Aviva. So what else do you do there? Now people say about a number of GAA stadiums in the country, but
they said Croke Park will come in, won't they?
Well, even at that, I know UEFA aren't fond of having two stadiums at tournaments in the one city. And again, you're going to have to, there's a requirement for the stadiums to be full seated as well. Whether you refurbish someone, put some temporary seating in, who flips the cost for that?
Nathan, I see in
And
the
even the way-
World Cup, right? The World Cup in Qatar, they have about 6 stadiums in the same city, and then yeah, or more, just in that surrounding area. Now that's Qatar, that's different, and you said UEFA, not FIFA. But I think they might get away with 2 in the same stadiums. I'd be looking at a few different things, Nathan. First of all, Northern Ireland. What are Northern Ireland going to do? They're talking about Casement Park and building that up, making sure that that's probably 30,000 or 35,000 all-seater stadium. So they're going to have to redevelop that totally. So that's a good bit of money that's going to go into that. You've got Scotland. That's fine. They have their couple of stadiums. They've got Hampden. They've got Ibrox and Celtic Park. You've got Wales, you'll have your Millennium Stadium, you'll have Swansea and Cardiff, they'll have their stadium, so that's fine as well. And of course England have an abundance, which won't be a problem.
All right,
The problem is, Nathan, Ireland are in bed with England here. England have just destroyed a final with crowd trouble. They made a mockery of themselves. The fans made a mockery of themselves over there on that day. Do UEFA turn around and all of a sudden just trust England to be able to, trust their fans and organise this so that there's no repeat again?
Yeah, you can't be seen to be not punishing them and to be supporting that behaviour, because it's not only the fan base as well, Roy. It was the complete lack of any sort of proper security system and policing. Not only stewards in the day, but police. You've listened to a couple of interviews where we have been out sports journalists that have gone to the final, and these journalists have been to severely intense games in the likes of Greece, Turkey, these really, really hostile atmospheres, South America. And these journalists are saying they've never felt as unsafe as they did in the Euro 2020 final between England and Italy. So that's going to be a complete major issue for them. It's the fact that it wasn't off-field hooliganism and fans that they can't control. Like the security aspect and the stewarding aspect and policing aspect is something that's absolutely major. Even more important than stadiums, even more important than transport and accommodation and things like that. So to see that they failed so badly at such a major stage, it was a really, really bad black eye on the day of the FA, and it's going to be questioned when these sort of bids come up again. Yeah,
so obviously that's one bid. The other bids they have, Nathan, confirmed these are going to plan to bid are Romania, Greece, Bulgaria and Serbia. That's one bid. Turkey on their own and ourselves, okay? Then the others who have expressed interests, and this is a mad one, Denmark, Faroe Islands, Finland, Iceland, Norway and Sweden. Unbelievable, that's a long one. Portugal and Spain and Russia. Now, I do believe that Portugal and Spain are UEFA's favourites to be pushed for the World Cup in 2030, and I think that's why England bowed out of the 2030. So Portugal and Spain may step aside from Euro 2028. You look at them ones, apart from the mad one of, I mean, well, no, we have 5. They've 6 there, but that's every country around and island around there in Scandinavia. But they haven't had a European Championships, and I'm looking at places that haven't had a European Championship. Obviously, Russia have had it. Turkey, I can't remember. No, I don't think Turkey ever had the European Championships. I might be wrong. I don't remember it either. And then Romania, Greece, Bulgaria, and Serbia. They do want to get it into different areas. So again, when you look at that, Nathan, can you make a case for England, who just had a semi-final and a final in the European Championships in 2020, albeit 2021, having it 7 years later?
Yeah, it's hard to see. I know that UEFA seem to have a soft spot for Wembley Stadium in particular for major finals. We've seen it in club competitions as well. It's a security issue is a big one, isn't it? And the proximity, as you said, is a major one. Yeah, now they say the Scandinavia couldn't be a bad shout at all. I struggle to see the English one. And again, I don't want to be repeating myself and going back, but that's a bad issue to have, security issues. Different if it was the stadiums. You can refurbish stadiums and get them done up and things like that. You can bring in new sorts of transport. You can build up new accommodations. But security issues at these major competitions and these major sporting events with the world watching, that's a bad one. It's a bad issue to have.
And just to finish off on it, Nathan, because there's so many teams in our bid and there's so many teams in that Scandinavian bid, they're not all going to be able to get qualification, automatic qualification. So in this one, some of these teams are going to have to qualify. If not, all of these teams are going to have to qualify. And if you're Ireland and you don't qualify for the tournament, again, it feels a little bit flat then if you don't qualify. You're missing the party and it's in your own backyard. I wasn't interested in, I know loads of people were, but I wasn't interested in, and you were going to go, but I wasn't interested in the Euro 2020s being in Dublin if Ireland weren't in it, and it really wasn't. It didn't really, it didn't excite me at all. I was kind of glad it wasn't in the end, but I know, listen, there's money to be made and that's great. The FAI need money and that's brilliant. But could we have not done a deal with maybe, Scotland or do you know what? I actually see Ireland, if Ireland actually decided with the government, because there's so much in that strategic plan that is League of Ireland. How are we going to help the League of Ireland? We're going to ask the government for money. We're going to ask UEFA and FIFA for money. They're going to go around with the begging bowl and ask every single person they can and look for money. Well, why wouldn't they look at the plan for actually holding the Euros in Ireland themselves, and with the government redevelop some of those, like the GAA stadiums, and then go for it themselves, and instead of having this thing of we're jumping in with someone else, which I don't think we're going to get, to tell you the truth, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get, but I'd like to see a bit of optimism there that we can do something. Obviously it has to make sense money wise, but I mean, there's a lot of money behind holding the third richest sporting tournament around.
I have to be honest, I think that's really unrealistic to see us hosting it on our own. Like I said, we go in with Scotland and market it as like a Celtic event, two Celtic countries, just for us, First of all, it's trying to get that connection with the GAA, which is literally impossible to be seen with the Liam Miller tribute game. We couldn't have that in Cork. I know that was a bit of a failed Rugby World Cup bid as well in the past, wasn't there? That swung on the connection of the GAA. And as well, a lot of these tournaments go on during the summer. That's high to GAA season. So many GAA friends telling me so. To see them even allowing football games, being able to play in these stadiums during the GAA season is quite difficult. Then you go into the boring stuff. You go into transportation in this country. Even transportation in Dublin is a fucking joke beyond belief for a capital city in Europe. Like, I'm living in the west of Ireland. I can tell you the transport system. It's not that good. It's not that good, man. So to have these, these stadiums down the country, it's I can see it quite difficult to do when you do get down to the boarding aspects of like hotels and facilitating the size of training grounds and transport and things like that. Yeah, I can see it being really far-fetched for us. But I'd love to see it, but yeah, I think it's mission impossible job.
Yep. Okay. What about with Scotland and Wales rather than having England?
I think it'd be more. Again, it's what can we bring to the party? Like in the current state, we can only hold group games, and is it a last 16? I think that's what we're going to hold in Euro 2020, wasn't it? Group games and a last 16 game.
Yeah, but if you had Croke Park, you could hold the final. Yeah,
you could do, but again, it falls. I think there's requirements of an all-state stadium. You need to get that done up, and I know we talked about the GAA and everything, but in an ideal world, Croke Park could be more than likely would be used. I find it hard to see us really contributing on that to one of these major tournaments in the next 10-15 years. We're being realistic.
Okay, let's get some positivity going.
Yeah, please. Jesus Christ. Season 3 is off to an absolute flyer here.
You are donning your Head in the Game top, and good news. Head in the Game Park is going to go and run on for another year, Nathan. So it seems you're part of the Head in the Game team. Talk to us. Let us know what's the story, what's happening this year. And it's great that Drogheda are taking on the Head in the Game name again this year. Yeah,
obviously from myself and everybody else on the Head in the Game committee, we're absolutely honoured. We're delighted to get this privilege again. Thanks to the likes of Conor, Harry and everybody involved with Drogheda United. They've been, we've been shaken with a lot of the support that we got from League of Ireland Club and the community. Drogheda have been nothing but excellent, and they've committed themselves this year. They said they want to do further work with us in terms of advocating mental health in the League of Ireland and Irish football as a whole. So that's absolutely excellent. What's on the cards for us this year? It's just improving. I think we're at a stage where our name is out there now. I think Head in the Game is, without tooting our own horn, I think it's it's a known, it's respected. We've had these links with the PFEI, with the FEI. Like you have these naming rights with Drogheda United, with the lovely jerseys. You can still pick up these jerseys and unbow.ie. Quick plug. Thanks, Roy, for having this. Yeah, so we're going to have things like a website. It's going to be launching very soon. That's something we've been working hard on. Something that I know myself personally, I'm dying to see the back of, and I can't wait to get it out there and get it up. Yeah, a lot of education on our behalf, and it's just improving, just trying to continue the good fight of getting people to open up and to talk. And I suppose it's a good time now with the League of Ireland starting. We talk about the social aspect that the league is. You know, if you have a buddy or you have somebody that you go to the games with, you haven't connected in a couple of months, reach out, get them down, you know, get them back to the league, because it's a league. It's something we all love, going to these games. And even if you realise there's a familiar face at the games that you haven't seen and are missing, if you feel comfortable, reach out to that person, you know. That's sometimes that's all we need, Roy, isn't it? We just need a helping hand. We just need a text message that can change everyone's outlook and that can change someone's mental well-being. So yeah, just look out for each other and keep an eye on the head in the game. We have hopefully an exciting year ahead of us.
Yeah, and it's important just to keep the conversation flowing, because you could easily, you know, sport out for a few months. Everyone's talking about it, and then die away, and then you don't have that conversation going. So heading the game is really about continuing on that focus and making sure that it doesn't fade away into the background, and that there's a continuous chat about mental health and where you can go to get help is a big thing. Where does heading the game go from here? I mean, it's you're keeping the awareness. Where does it go from there? You know, obviously you have your jersey out and you are getting the stadium named after it, and that's keeping the name out. There's a lot possibly that I suppose you could do. What are you going to do?
I suppose I have to tread carefully. I'm sure if the lads make some of the higher ups looking at this, so without giving too much away, the ambition is big. It's really, really big, and it's beyond the league, and it's also beyond Ireland. We have international connections starting to come through, which is really exciting. Look, these are things that are going to have to be worked out in time, and they will be announced. But what we'd like to do, and even probably from a selfish aspect, what ourselves have talked about within the league, within this community of ours, if we can get, you know, the likes of a mental health officer in every club, if we can make that a standard across the board, that'd be absolutely brilliant. Things like TED Talks, keynote events, things like that, you know. It's just going within the communities that's available now with, thankfully, government guidelines. And well, COVID isn't going away anytime soon, and it's still as serious as ever. We're at the stage where we can start going into these communities now, you know, and actually doing what we're supposed to be doing. We can go in as hubs into communities. We can go in and help people. We can and talk and listen to people and point them in the right direction. Because let's get it out there, a lot of the guys in the committee, myself included, we're not experts. We are not mental health experts at all. This is all on a voluntary basis. We do it because we love it and we want to see things improve with mental health in this country and in the league and in Irish football as a whole. So, but, you know, it's educating ourselves as well, which is extremely important, and being able to, if anyone reaches out, being able to point them in the right direction and to say the right things to get them on the path to a better tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, and we will keep an eye out for what Heading the Game are doing this year. It's a fantastic thing to be involved with, and
I love it, yeah.
And if anyone can help out in any way at all, do get in touch with the likes of Nathan or Dean or anyone else who's there. It's a really important thing. Now, we talk a little bit of football, because there has been a lot of chopping and changing in the League of Ireland during the off season. And stand out for you, Nathan?
In terms of signings?
Yeah.
Derry City. Good night. See you now.
That's it.
Sorry about everyone. Yeah. No, obviously, look, Derry City, I've made some super incomings, haven't they? You know, loads of Michael Duffy, McElhaney, Matty Smith. I'm not upset about that one, Roy. We'll say no more. Even the likes of Brandon Kavanagh and Brian Maher, you know, two players that are ready for that step up. I was thinking, look, we're all going to talk about the likes of Jack Bourne coming back to the league, and that's excellent for the league, excellent for Shamrock Rovers. I know he was extremely unlucky over in Cyprus, coming off a bad injury. That guy is still a serious talent, and for me, he's the most talented player in this league on his day. Owen Doyle, I had to mention him. It took me over half an hour to mention Owen, so that's good. I thought I was going to blow it out in the first 5 minutes. he's getting on a bit on, but he's a natural goal scorer, and in a league that's short, that's a big thing for us. Was there any, I suppose, from yourself, I have one or two in mind that went under the radar? Any signings that maybe isn't being picked up to the likes of Jack Bones, your Owen Doyles, and everyone that they've signed?
Well, you're throwing me under the bus there. I was actually going to talk about. I'll come back to that one I'll after and have a little think about it. But I was going to talk about Bohemians again and how they've dismantled nearly a whole team again and had to rebuild. This is like the third, fourth, fifth season in a row where they're going out with. Now, last year, I know they kept a few of the players. That was probably the first year that they kind of kept a few players. But they've had to really adapt a whole new team this year. And again, we're going into a season going, what can Bowes do? Now, normally, Keith Long turns it around and shows us what a good manager he is and how he gets the best out of the players that he gets in. What have you made of the players that have left who have made such a huge impact and what has come in instead?
Yeah, massive loss, like I said, not the first time, but I think this is the biggest mass exodus that we've seen over the past couple of years. Like before we've seen like the Danny Grant leaving and Andre Wright, and while these days the two key players, we've seen key positions being just completely dismantled from this season. Coming in, like I said, Junior coming from Sligo Rovers, he was with the likes of Derry, Dundalk the past couple of years. Hasn't done an awful lot since his first impressive season at Derry City. The one that supposed stands out for me, if we're going to be a little bit positive for Bohemians, is Chris Twardek coming back into the league. He was really good in his short spell, his first spell with Bohemians. Again, another one that went abroad to the likes of Poland, didn't quite work out the way he liked. So that'd be a nice thing to have for them. Look, while we've seen Keith do this in the past, more so accommodating younger players that you have in the academy, bring them up to the first team. I just feel that teams in the round of last season that we might get into in a minute, like Derry, St. Pat's, Sam McGrovers again, they've all made slight improvements. So I think it could be a difficult one this year for Bowes if we're going to be looking at them as European candidates, which you'd imagine that would be the main goal for them this season. But yeah, I think they could struggle with that one.
What about Finn Harps? The one player that you were saying, they hasn't gone under the radar, but Finn Harps took in, where has he gone? From St. Pat's, Tunde. Did he went in at the end of last year, was he? Yeah,
Tunde came to us. Tunde Abawale came to Pats from Finn Harps. Yeah, good player. Really, really good player. If I'm looking at Pats this year, the attacking options that you have, it's really, really it's impressive to see. We've seen Owen Doyle, Mark Doyle as well coming in from Drogheda. He was second in the goal scoring rankings last season. Really, really good player. Seen a bit of him during the pre-season. While he can't go to pre-season games too much, his ability to take on a player out on the left-hand side, really direct, very quick, skillful feet. Yeah, good one to have. Adam O'Reilly, another one as well.
Sorry, Nathan, is that something that they were missing, though? That type of player? Because remember, we had this discussion last year. I'm talking about people in the St. Pat's team running an awful lot of passing, but no real sort of penetration with players taking on players, skipping by. That's what he does bring, doesn't he? So it'll be interesting to see how he affects teams now for St. Pat's. How are they going to make that something that's going to count? How are they going to, as like centre forward, or we know that what they can bring from midfield, but what about that centre forward role for St. Pat's?
Yeah, it's quite important because away from Owen Doyle, he brought Ronan Coughlin back in. Look, you know my feelings about Ronan. Not a big fan. I haven't been seeing enough of him at the likes of Cork City and Sligo before he came to Pats. I think there's a lot of players similar to him in the league. He's a workhorse. He's going to give 100%, not a huffing and puffing, but the end product just isn't there. There's going to be improvements needed by him. Because if you're looking at Owen Doyle, 33, brilliant signing, over the moon that we got him in, but I think there's going to be questions on how much is he going to play this year when you're taking league football, cup football, and European football. So that's going to be really important. That Pats get that strength and depth with the squad right this year. Because you're going to have, like you said, like Mark Doyle, Dara Bones, great to see him stick around the club this season, So you're going to get plenty of balls in from the midfield. So well, we can't just be relying on the likes of Owen Doyle. We're gonna need the Tunde Obawales. Jeez, I'm gonna struggle with this season. Obawales of the world.
Just Tunde.
Just Tunde. Yeah. Do you know what? I tried, mate. Tunde, if you're watching, I know you're not watching, but I tried, pal.
Apologise. So what about the players that have left, Pats? Is there anyone that I know? Matty Smith is a little bit of a thorn in your side there. He did relatively well last year, probably one of the better players for Pats last year. Who kills you? Like, you've got Sam Bowen, Robbie Benson, Mountney, Desmond, Alfie Lewis. You know, there's more to go there, but there's quite a lot of first teamers gone.
Lee's a big one. Lee Desmond's a big one for Pats as a centre half. He's been absolutely focal to not only the team but to the club as a whole. Now, still only young, only 25. I think a lot of us forget that he's been around the league for so long. You understand why he left, why he made the decision to go to America with the age that he's at. He doesn't do it now. He feels he's never going to do it. He left on such a high with the cup, but that's going to be a massive loss for Pats this season. Look, Paddy Barra signing back was a big one. He hasn't been involved with the pre-season, so maybe nursing a bit of an injury there. With the system that Tim is going to go, it's been a strange from the pre-season because Tim has fluctuated between a back three and a back four. I think if you go with a back three, you could see the likes of Ian Birmingham push into a left centre half. I think that could be a nice round for Ian as he's coming into the twilight of his career. But yeah, look, Lee Desmond's a massive loss. And Yaros, Víclav Yaros in goal, while he was never realistically going to sign back, Liverpool were always going to loan him out to an English side to get him that experience in the EFL. But he actually went to the conference in the end, to Notts County. And look, say what you will, could he got more experience, come back to Pats for European football? Who knows? But look, we got a new guy, other lad in his name. Completely that slipped me mind. He got him in from West Ham. He was a Stevenage. So Yaros will be a big loss. But like you said, realistically, he was probably never going to come back to Pats anyway. Okay,
we're not going to go through every team now. Who do you think has done the best business in the Premier Division? We'll talk about the First Division quickly in a second. Who do you think has done the best business in the Premier League?
I think it's hard to look past Derry, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think it really, really is. The quality of player that he brought in is absolutely immense. While at the back end of last year, we heard about the influx of money coming in. I personally thought, we'll see the building blocks of that this year. And maybe it'll be the fruits of the labour 2 or 3 years down the line. But they've made some serious headway. Now, look, these lads all have to gel in, and that's going to take time. And maybe it will take a year or two for the squad to be settled and for Rory Higgins to get that nucleus of the squad together. But the quality that they have there, they have to be title challengers. They really, really have to be this season. I think it'd be foolish not to look at them as title challengers.
I think it would, because the way he got them performing at the end of last year says everything about what way he was managing the side, especially the way Derry City started. So yeah, I'd be 100% saying that they could take St. Pat's place to challenge Shamrock Rovers for this title. Although we haven't talked about Dundalk yet. Dundalk challenge, yes or no?
I think they're still a bit off challenging, but I think European football could be in the cards. I think just a quick little one. I think, like I said, Rovers, I could see them win again. Derry will be there. I think Pats will be there in thereabouts, but I think if I'm looking at European football, it will be Pats and Dundalk really battling it out. I think that'll be an interesting new rivalry this season, especially with the whole Stephen O'Donnell situation, which we'll talk about throughout the year because we're still a bit into this podcast now, and I don't want to get started. Look, in fairness to Stephen, his recruitment has always been spot on for the most parts. I think while I threw the little caveat out there about signings gone under the radar, they brought in a centre half on loan from Dundee, Mark Connolly. I think that could be a key one from this year. And while it's only loaned, if they can move that into a permanent deal, it'd be brilliant, because Brian Gartland, absolute bona fide legends in the League of Ireland, and with Dundalk, was super servant to that club, but such a nasty injury. But to see even Brian come back this year was brilliant. I personally thought we wouldn't see him again, so to see him come back in his own team is great, but his game time is going to be limited. So I think Mark Connolly will be a big one to step up.
Yeah, but they have Cleary's gone. Has left. Sonny Nassestad has gone as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be a brand new Dundalk nearly, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, like said, Sam Bowen coming in, Andy Boyle, you'd imagine being regular. Darren Lee, he has to start getting game
Yeah,
time. He's
yeah,
really
yeah.
struggled over the past couple of years. Thankfully for Dundalk fans, no a baby. They still got lad Nathan Shepherd in as a goalkeeper. Yeah, it's going to be a complete new one, a complete rebuild. But feelings aside about the Pat O'Donnell's situation, O'Donnell is a really, really talented coach, and he could definitely do a good job at Dundalk. It's all positive for Dundalk with the new ownership, and they're saying the right things, and they seem to be acting on the right things and working closely with the Dundalk supporters group. So it's a club on the up. I don't think it'll be a disastrous season as it was last year. I think we will see Dundalk back where they belong, fighting for European football. And I do, like I said, I think they're a little bit off the pace for the league title. I think it'll take a while for Stephen to put his influence on the team. The same way he did with Pats. Like, if Stephen came into Pats and those people calling for his job a couple of months into it. So I think it will take a while. But yeah, they'll be definitely in the European fight this season.
Shelbourne look interesting. There's some interesting signings that they have as well. I think we'll go a little bit more into them and Sligo next week. And of course, UCD. Well, UCD have everyone and anyone. It's very hard to do it so well in the first division, and then the Premier Division can be a struggle. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. But they'll always put a good fight up and play some great football. Quick. We'll do First Division next week, but quick look at the First Division. I looked at Bray Wanderers here. I have them here in front of me. They've got about 7 billion players they're after bringing in. It's it's going to be very interesting because half them are Cabinteely, obviously. It's what do you make of that whole sort of merger? I'm not fond of it. I think it's just killing one club.
I think if I was a Bray Wanderers fan, I'd be severely disappointed. I think they got I think Cabinteely got the benefit of it. They're going into the Carlisle grounds. While it's not the best stadium within the league, it's a million miles better than Stradbrook. So that's it. Again, that's a boost for Cabinteely. I think you're getting Cabinteely are coming into a better group of players as well.
Do you think that the name Cabinteely will stick around?
No, I think there's more weight in the name Bray Wanderers with the history of the club.
So is that not just killing Cabinteely altogether out of the League of Ireland? Really just trying to make a connection there between Cabinteely, schoolboys, I suppose, and a Bray Wanderers side. So really Cabinteely are done and dusted, and Bray will take over and be, I suppose, a little bit stronger for it, but I'm not sure how much more.
Now, I know we will see the return of Cabinteely. I think that was part of the deal, wasn't it? This year it's going to be Bray Wanderers. I think next year it's going to be Cabinteely, and then after that there's going to be a complete revamp and a rename. But
Bray Wanderers.
Call it what it is. Look, Cabinteely is pretty much going to act as a feeder system to Bray with their schoolboy football. And like, again, I know we talked about it a bit into the end of season 2 of the podcast. They just completely rebrand it, make it into a Wicklow county or whatever, make it a bit more attractive and make it branch it out a little bit to the entire county of Wicklow. But I'm not too sure that would even work because you look at Bray, it's always struggled in recent history with financial and getting people through the turnstiles. So yeah, I don't think I can't see even a complete revamp working out for them. I like Bray though. I do. I like Bray as a club. Like a lot of history behind them. That's a good squad of players there that they had even before the merger, and a good few of them stick around. Big one is getting the likes of Hugh Douglas back into the club. A Bray man, true and true. The family connection there. It was a shame to even see him leave Bray in the first place. So if I'm looking at one, that's for the likes of him coming back in. It's nice to see.
Okay, I'm conscious of time, so we'll do more on the First Division. We'll actually do a better look at on the First Division next week because Wexford is interesting. You did an article on them with Dinny Cochran coming in and players like that, so they'd be very interesting. Just a quick look at by the time people are watching this, the President's Cup will be probably over and done, and we won't even, we won't even have a prediction right for this or any time for prediction to hang out there that we might be right. But just your thoughts on the President's Cup overall, not even generally that the game on Friday night, but is the President's Cup something that you like to see? Do you get excited about it?
Well, I was excited about it this year, but as a whole, I've no wavering thoughts about it really. I think it sort of is what it is. I don't. Am I right in saying is there a prize fund at the end of it? I don't think
I'm not sure.
I could be wrong about that. I really, really could be. I know. Looking at the one this year, the positive ticket sales going on looks like it could be a good curtain raiser. Is it a glorified friendly? Yeah, pretty much. I think I'm just looking at momentum going into the season. It gives you the last chance to. I think that both sides, and it normally does happen within the President's Cup. The sides tend to play a strong team, but the chance to chop and change. Not a complete, like one team play the first half, team play the second half, but you will see a lot of rotation with players. You could even see a rotation with the likes of formations and things like that. That has been gone on in the past. I think, again, we will see that on Friday. But yeah, no strong opinions on the President's Cup either way. The same way, you could say the same with the Community Shield over in England. It's a nice curtain raiser for fans of the league, get you excited for the league. But I suppose for clubs, that's all it is. It's a momentum boost, and it's a last look to be able to tweak a system, tweak formations, move players around. But look, a lot of that is done already at this stage, isn't it?
As you said, it's curtain raiser. It just lets you know that the league is around the corner and it's all going to kick off. So, yeah, I suppose it's there. It's better than a normal pre-season friendly. So it starts it all off. So no one gets excited by it, but it's an acknowledgement that we're going to start off. So yeah, we'll keep it so. We'll keep it so. Okay, Nathan, listen, thanks very much for your time. Thanks very much for everyone else out there who's watching or listening on the podcast. So you can watch the League of Ireland podcast on YouTube, or you can listen to it, of course, on any really platform out there that does podcasts. We're on them all. Okay, Nathan, cheers.